by the author of this book, and at the same time, help us navigate the modern relations that we are all a part of some way or the other in life, but of course in our families. I think communication is one of the subject matter that is also important, because if you're not relating to people, it simply means that there's no communication. I'm talking about Gramey Browne, and this is the last time I believe we would have the instinct, a possibility to be able to grab hold and just to revive something that was there for some time already. You must have heard about dating advice to my daughter. It's not just dating advice to my daughter. There's a lot to grab out of this when it comes to relations between family members, parents, and children that will set them up to make better decisions and to immediately take hold of doing what we can when it comes to controlling our surroundings. Let me just say that I recommend, if you have not done so yet, that you grab a copy of this book. Let it be part of your gift collection for this coming Christmas. And I'm happy to have the gentleman back here to be able to talk about some of what's inside of it. And I hope that it will inspire you to get a copy. Really, I've said a lot. I try to paint a picture of the real problems that exist in the world and how it affects us. We don't live in those conditions. We don't know what it's like to live there. But we have problems of our own here. And we know that they exist all around us. So help us become a little wiser to navigate this whole issue of communicating between one another, because that can help solve some of our immediate problems. And I'm asking you to do this because your book simply deals with some of these issues that we have not even begun to try to address in our immediate families. How you doing, by the way?
Good morning, Wendell Moore, and good morning to radio listeners and everyone that your program reach. I'm happy. I'm delighted to be here again. So before I leave the island, this will be basically my last interview.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm happy to talk about this. Since I've released the book and I did the live releases and people can come up to me and we can have conversations. And I've had a lot of conversations with females, young, middle age, some a little older. The older one seems to really understand, especially those who bought the book. I saw like 2 or 3 of them and they're like, man, your book is so on point. The funny thing with those that saying, we know this now, we're with you. If only we knew it when we were younger. And I said, well, now you have the opportunity to share this with your daughters. Women sharing with their daughters and fathers especially sharing with their daughters. Because when a younger girl hears this from her father, it means a whole lot more than when she's hearing it from her mother.
Just about that. Because in some regard, young ladies at times would see their mother as direct competition. Maybe not, it shouldn't be that way, right. But because of the gender,
yeah,
they see more competition than they would relate to the opposite.
Because when women compete with each other the same way men do,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But when you go opposite, there's really not a competition.
No. There's room for the functioning of both genders.
Yes. Yeah. And I was speaking with a young lady just before I came here, and we're talking about the importance of having friends with the opposite sex. Men should have female friends.
Yes.
Females need male friends.
Yes.
Men don't speak womanese. It's not really a language, but women say certain things. Men don't understand it. Which we're trying to address and answer things that we really didn't understand. Having a female friend, platonic relationship, friendship, is really important because you can say, you know what, my wife does this thing, and then she said this morning. What does that really mean? And before you can really address what came at you that you perceive to be, whether it's a negative or something that upset you, you have that moment where you can ask another female, a friend, not someone who has an angle, or or who has some hidden agenda, but a real friend that can say, what does this mean? And there are times I get an explanation that, oh, okay. And I was able to give her one as like, this is what this is when he says that. This is what it means. And she's like, oh, I never thought of it that way.
Listen, can you provide some clarity when it comes to using the word dating? Because it has some misconception about dating that should be cleared up.
And I had the opportunity to clear it up with a few people, because what happens nowadays, see, we have words that we use growing up, right? Now it take on a different meaning. Like the rainbow is basically been hijacked. You use the rainbow, you're talking LGBTQ+. Dating, which I explain, is sort of you're dating someone and you're dating with a purpose, which it's kind of like we used to say hanging out. I'm hanging out with a friend. It doesn't imply anything. I'm just hanging out with a friend. It's opposite sex, it's fine. If you say, I'm going on a movie date with a friend, people's like, oh, movie date, friend? The two words now are clashing, right? Dating, if you're dating with intention, it's kind of the interview phase where if the purpose is to lead to meaningful relationship, then that's what you're dating for. Dating does not mean you're in a relationship. When you're in a relationship, you say, I'm in a relationship. You don't say you're dating. Right? When you're dating, it means you are in search of a relationship. And based on the purpose you're dating for, whether it's an intimacy relationship, a convenient relationship, companionship, dating for long-term, meaningful relationship, or you're dating for a wife or husband.
But that should be the mindset of the person who's trying to understand the word dating. Which could take on a different connotation. So that's what we say dating again.
So the individual person is dating with a purpose, or you could say I'm hanging out. But if you're dating and you have a purpose in mind, it's that feeling out process. See it as a job interview. They're interviewing you to see if they want to hire you. In that interview, you're figuring out whether or not you want to work for this company. Because during the interview, you could find out something that says, oh, you guys don't pay vacation pay. Or, oh, you guys only give, X amount, in SEMA, we have specific laws of how long vacations are. But you can find out things that you say, oh, I have to work on Sundays too. I only want to work Monday to Friday. Now you find something out about the company that now you wanted to work for them, but after that interview, you change your mind. Now I no longer want to work for them. So a guy initiates with you, you like him, you think there's something going on, you go out, date number one, you realize, this is not for me. That's dating. It's not a relationship. You're not in a relationship with this person.
And mind you, folks, this discussion is far removed from personal intimacy of sorts. This is about building communication, to build certain values in your younger ones, so that they can build certain amount of integrity. Let me go to the book and bring a piece that you have written. You strongly advise against using dating, and hence the reason for you clarifying what dating really is. As a network tool, you advise against it. You said, remember, integrity is your personal and professional life, and that is crucial. It's always better to be clear about your intentions and to separate your romantic life from your career aspirations. This approach will serve you better in the long run, both ethically and practically, and aligns with the principles of respect and consent that have become increasingly important in our society. Explain this part, because I see it as building a certain amount of integrity as a result of your search, whether you decide eventually, when you reach the age of puberty or the age of consent, whatever, you have to make these important decisions.
Yes. So that comes from a chapter I call Dating with a Purpose. And I say, if you are dating and you don't have a purpose, as a female, because I'm talking to my daughter, I'm talking to females, young females, if you don't have a purpose and the reason for your dating, by default, you fall under the purpose of the other person because you don't have a clear purpose of why you are dating. And example, a female is dating, a guy's approach her, hey, I like you, I'm interested in you, can we go out and have a coffee? She goes out. She needs to know, I'm going out to have a coffee and I'm going to talk with this guy because he approached, I'm interested, I want to hear what he has to say, I want to feel him out, see if I really like him, etc. You go out, and from that date, he says, hey, you wanna go to the beach? If you had a clear purpose, I'm gonna go out, have this coffee, then I'm gonna, I don't know, you're gonna go home, you're gonna meet your brother, you're gonna meet your friend, you're gonna meet whatever. You can say, no, I already have other plans. No, I don't want to do that. That's not my interest right now. We did the coffee, it was nice, I really like you. We could do this again sometime, but right now I gotta go. But if you go and you had no clear intention, you have no boundaries, you're open for anything, that's a suggestion from him. Let's go to the beach. You'll be like, oh, then you gotta drop me home and let me pick up my swimsuit. Now he knows where you live, he knows your house, and then you're just gonna put on a swimsuit and go to the beach because you are now following his purpose. Because you didn't have one for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
All right, let me just fill our listeners and viewers in that the book is called Dating Advice to My Daughter. It's a book that is written by Gramey Browne. It's in bookstores all over, but I think I would like to share, along with the concept and the ideas in this book, that communication in families and in homes, which has been of late going through some breakdowns, is necessary in order for you to really make the best use of this book, because therein it calls for this kind of relation and discussion. And how would you recommend we have a high ratio of single parents. We don't have a dad that on a consistent basis grew up in the family and gets up every morning and have to face the children, the younger ones, the teenagers, to be able to put this into motion. So what's your recommendation for how it could be utilized to the benefit of what the wisdom that lies in this book?
So I've made some posts on Facebook, and some people has responded with, we need to talk to these young boys. We need to talk to these men who abandon their families. What's done is done, right? I recommend highly, also in the book, women should, make best effort and make best choices not to have children out of wedlock. When you have a child within the sanctity of marriage, you basically have more of a commitment than when you're making a baby for a boyfriend or a guy you really like, or a guy who's not in a committed relationship with you. And I realize in conversation with women, they confuse exclusive relationship with committed relationship. And a committed relationship, for the most part, you're under the same roof, right? And now you are basically raising a family. If you're not under the same roof, are you actually raising a family? Because he is not present. And she is not present when you and the kids wake up every morning. When a young girl can say, good morning, daddy. And if we continue culturally to have this lifestyle of raising families apart instead of raising families together, nothing is going to change. Right? Fathers and sons bond very easily, whether it's through sports, shared interests. Fathers and daughters a lot. I wanted a daughter because I wanted a daddy's girl, right? And it is so important for a daughter, for a young girl to have her father in her life, because it gives her that from a very young age, I guess, that primal instinct to understand dealing with the male. Because the next step of dealing with male is going to be through male friends. But do these male friends has her best interest the same way as her father? And so I said to some of the guys I spoke to, I can't change the young men out there, right? I don't have a son. If I had a son, the book would be probably the different dating advice to my son. It's dating advice to my daughter because that's what I have. If I can tell my daughter what sons to avoid, by default, I'm helping her from becoming part of that statistics that we see in our community now. If more of our men, more of our fathers can be having these conversations with their daughters, who will then have better information to make better choices, a lot of these sons won't have relationships, period. Because the daughters are equipped to say, no, you're not ready. You're not up to par. You're not even in the zone. But if these boys and some of these men can have relationships, why are they going to change? It's working for them, right? If you have a car, you come out in the morning, you start it, and you can get to work, you get to wherever you want to go. Then there's nothing for you to do. But if you come out and you start your car and every day it's giving you trouble, and you can't use it for the purpose that it's there for, and you can't get to where you have to go, you make changes. You try to fix it, you get a mechanic, you change your oil, you get your tires, you do whatever. But if all women continue to be with the type of men that you are talking about, that you're saying need to change, how are these men going to change? So it's kind of a chicken or the egg. What I can do is equip my daughter with the information I need her to have so she can make better decisions and avoid me having to deal with, or her dealing with some of these guys.
Hence the book and its title, Dating Advice
To my daughter.
But at the same time, finding middle ground to be able to at least address the other half is also something that one should look into. I mean, it's difficult at times when you're going to look at things one-sided, and it leaves a void for the other side, which eventually is going to come together.
From a man perspective, I was a boy. I know who I was in my late teens, in my 20s. I knew what I was looking for. This is valued information that fathers can share with their daughters, because the man you see before you was not always, if he's kind, gentle, loving, caring, emotional, he was not always that way. He grew into the man that you see before you. And again, that's the importance of fathers talking to their daughters and their young girls. I spoke to a young girl, and she met her father when she was 27. And now she's 36, and she's in a relationship that she herself could say, I shouldn't have been in this. I ignored some of the signs, but because I did, she self said it, she admitted, because I didn't have my father to talk to, there was no grown male figure that I could talk to. She felt sympathetic for the person she was dating and think if she could, that he just need love. If only she would love him and show him love, he would change, he would have some adaptation. And 6 years in with 2 kids, nothing changed. And now she wants out. But now you're 6 years in with 2 kids.
Yeah.
Had she had different information, she could have made a different choice. And that's why we have to equip our daughters. That's what I have. I can't equip my son, I don't have one. Right? Fathers should equip their son. Moms should equip their sons. My book is dating advice to my daughter. We need females to stop accepting the males that we are complaining about. So therefore, we don't continue that chain.
Surely there should be a message for the other side.
Yes.
In your view, what do you see as an appropriate, or what do you think is an appropriate message for the other side in order to make it possible for the other side, which you're giving the type of advice and you're doing basically from a male perspective?
If I had a son, first of all, I'll be leading by example, right? I'll be explaining to him that the same way which I explained to females in the book, relationships are choices and trade-offs. No one gets 100% of what they want, right? There's always going to be a trade-off. And if you don't have it to trade, then you are demanding 100% of what you want, right? Which means there is no room for the other person. A relationship between two people requires, just like a contract, it requires both people in that relationship.
Yeah.
It requires voice, it requires communication, it requires the exchanges and choices. If you want to cultivate a relationship with someone where only your ideology prevails, it's not a relationship, it's a dictatorship. How does that person function as a human being? I say in the book, a relationship is not two halves of a human, two halves of two human beings making a whole. It's two whole human beings coming together. And each person comes with them, their individuality, their flaws, they're good, they're bad, they're ugly. And in that relationship, you find common ground. And you're both in it together until one person no longer wants to be in it. Then the relationship is over.
Folks, this conversation is about a book called Dating Advice to My Daughter that I strongly recommend that you pick up at any of the bookstores. Before we end this program today, we'll talk about where you can find it. It's available everywhere at your fingertips, and we would like you to grab hold of a copy because of the wisdom and the diverse, fresh insight that is offered therein by the author, who of course speaks very much out of his personal relationships and experience that you can benefit from. And welcome back to People's Voice for this Sunday. Gramey Browne is my guest. He is, of course, on his last stint before he returns to his now home in the United States of America where he lives. But of course, he is from this part of the world, so we're happy to have him share his experience and his values and fresh insights into how he deals with his daughter and what we can draw from it, factoring in that if we can only have relationships in our homes, in our immediate surrounding, how much of a difference that can make. Gramey, as we come back from the break, I wanted to focus a little bit on those persons who probably have no interest because they exist, no interest at all in dating and relationships, simply because a lot of times it involves abuse and control. I believe in your book you did in fact make reference to it somehow when you talk about the essentials when it comes to having this type of communication. But this is not only important, but I would like you to share it in a way that would encourage those persons who have a different point of view of saying, I'm not interested. Because in reality, that is part of who we are. We should have, the inspiration and the inclination of wanting to build a family of sorts.
Yeah, I mean, there is relationship. Not every relationship have a desire to have children, right? Some people just want to be in a relationship, neither one want kids, and that's fine, right? But between them, they have a clear understanding of what their lives are going to be like. And that, again, is communication from the beginning, right? When you're going to cement that relationship, right? So you go out, you date, you have a couple of dates, you kind of like each other, then you make the next steps. Okay, we're going to start becoming exclusive. And then you go on and you say, okay, we're going to now commit. We're going to move in together, a year down the line, we're going to become husband and wife. In each steps, You have clear communication as to what it is you're doing, where it's going to lead to, what is the purpose of it. If the man wants children and the woman doesn't want children, that's a wrap.
What do you mean that's a wrap?
Well, why are you going to get married? Why are you going to be in a long-term relationship if one wants kids and the other one does not?
You're saying it makes no sense.
It makes no sense. Yeah. You're so far apart if you can't bridge it, because that's a big bridge.
Yeah.
That's not, I go to church on Saturdays, you go to church on Sundays.
Yeah.
This is, I don't want any kids.
Which could invite someone who's in the relationship to become a three instead of just two.
Well, that's another, that's a bigger expansion.
Yeah, because your interest is not met. And you said exactly at the start that no one is going to get 100%.
No one's going to get 100% of what they want. But if you don't want to bridge, when you come to kids and no kids, like when I was in my 20s, I didn't want kids at all. My mind, evolved. I became more mature. I got older. I had a goddaughter, and then I realized I could do it. But the females I were with also says, well, I don't want a child now anyway. So therefore we were okay. If I met someone that says, well, I want a child in the next year or two, or the next, I wouldn't proceed with a relationship with that person because I did not want kids. And these has to be clear. I shouldn't have to convince her not to, because this is too big a bridge. Now, let's say I met a Seventh-day Adventist. I was Catholic. You go to church on Saturdays, I go to church on Sundays, that's fine. The kids, which church is the kids going to go to? They can go to church with you, and they can go to church with me. They'll go to church twice a week. These are easy, but it needs to be communicated.
Yeah, but that mindset hardly exists in families when it comes to discussing those intricacies of are we going to have children and how much we're going to have, or we're not going to have children.
Right.
What you do have is people who are engaging in sexual activities, even from teenage, and going to school, and nothing in their mind is thinking about kids.
One thing I said this to someone, you only get kids, a woman only gets pregnant through, well, for the most part, sexual intercourse. If you think you're responsible enough to give consent for sex, know that there's a chance you can get pregnant. And if you don't take every precaution to not get pregnant, you may, most likely will, and then you have a child. And then they were like, but shouldn't the guy, you as the female, give consent to sex? For the most part, men don't give consent to sex. We always want to have sex. The woman give consent. When you give consent with that responsibility, with that power, it is a power that you have. Because a man can't have sex with you without your permission. That's rape. You go to jail for that. You have that responsibility, if you don't want to get pregnant, to protect yourself. And not say, oh, but he should have known, he should have pulled out, he should have this, he should have that. You have that responsibility once you give consent. And if you're gonna have sex openly, there is a chance you can get pregnant, because that's how babies.
How many parents communicate this to their daughters so that they can be prepared to understand that if they have any desire to become sexually active from early, that if they don't protect themselves against this, what could happen? Because in the absence of that, you get what I was just talking about. You get nobody discussing parent. It's all about having the pleasure time, and then before you know it, a child is involved.
Because young boys and young girls, when you get past that 14, 15, the hormones are just so crazy. And if your kids don't have you, the parents, father or mother, to talk to, it's left to them to figure it out, sink or swim, right? And some people who can't swim sink.
Yeah, often they don't have the best advice to make themselves.
And then some of them look to the man for that advice. And I say the man as in he could be 2 years older, he could be the same age, he could be 5 years older, he could be 10 years older. The advice he's given is for his interest for the most part, because again, she doesn't have anything else to feed from. And that's why it's important for you to have this open communication. The moment your daughters reach a certain age, maybe you see their interest. But as a mom, you were once a little girl, just like her. And those feelings start coming on, those interests start coming on. And you know how you felt at that time. You have to start having those conversations with your daughter so she can understand what she's going through, what actions she may end up taking, and the responsibility that comes with those actions. That is on her part.
Yeah, I do want you to go into those essentials, but before you do, I think I want to explain to our listening audience that much of what you're hearing is dealt with or in relation to what is in the content of this book. The book is called Dating Advice to My Daughter. And again, I can't stress anymore how important it is for you to get a copy of this book because of the wisdom that lies therein that you can use to inspire how you should go about building communication within your family circles. I mentioned at the start how the world is so full of problems. Our problems may not be like others, but certainly within our home setting, we need to be able to address some of what are the real problems on our nose. And I want to thank Gramey Browne for his wisdom that really challenges your thinking and empowers your choices when it comes to how you deal with these issues. That's why this book is a must. So the essentials, how do you, and this is something you deal with in the book, so you want to make sure that you twist some folks who have not yet chosen to get a copy of this book. I think this is an important resource now.
It is.
And it really need to get into homes. And I want to thank you for having
opens up so much conversation, because in the relationship essentials, you have also abuse and control, which is a factor specifically in the Black community. We hear it, it's amplified, it's talked about. Women often say, but these men. And when it comes to abuse and control and manipulation, these are just human factors, right? They're not a man or a woman factor. It is a human factor. But I say in the book, women, females, are mostly on the receiving end of the abuse and control. Because of our masculinity, we're bigger, stronger, we impose our will. It's part of the male construct. But it's also human, right? It is say, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yes.
And some people take the great power without the great responsibility, which again, we go back to the empowerment of you have the ability to give consent. It comes with a responsibility. With the man being big and strong, and especially when it comes to the age gap, where the man is 10 years older and, a 35-year-old dating a 20-year-old, that he's dating her with good intent. And with her having information from her father, from her parents, from the family circle, and having that resource circle, she can make better decisions and start seeing the signs of manipulation, control, which control leads to abuse. How to see the red flags, what the red flags are, how to avoid them. Parents have to encourage, even when your daughter, teenager, late teens, have a boyfriend. Bring him home. Let us introduce us to him so we know who he is. We can see things. And I say in the book, if a guy starts with, I don't like to be around people, I don't like to be around your friends, I'm quiet, I'm this.
That's a wrong choice.
That's a red flag. He just doesn't want to be caught or doesn't want others to see what he knows is there in him and what his intent is. It's kind of like when, if you bring a female around your female friends or even around an ex, she's like, she has, her and antennas on her, everything goes off, and she could tell you something that you didn't see. this guy is afraid that when he comes around, especially male relatives, your brother, your uncles, your father, your male friends, he's afraid of what they're going to tell you they see right in him, and through his facade that you haven't seen yet, because you're still dealing with the infatuation and the excitement, right? These are red flags. The controls are there. Some women see them and choose to ignore them, and some women don't see them at all. But the guy is hiding behind you by not exposing himself to the people that you care about, the people you love, especially the males. Because guys, we check each other. It's just it's just like default, the same way females do to each other.
Where would you say your mind was when you were writing this book, when you decide to begin penning your manuscripts? What condition your mind was in?
A lot of it about myself and my experiences growing up. I say I never had a problem with mothers-in-law. When I was introduced to the females' parents, there was never an issue, because back then I was always well-groomed. I dressed well. I always presented myself the way I wanted others to perceive me. And there were times Dad would say, you're the most decent guy my daughter ever introduced me to. And sometimes we didn't even have anything going on, but there was a family function and she said, hey, you want to come with me? And thinking back, she was probably doing the same thing. Maybe she got that advice from her father. If you like a guy, bring him over, let's check him out, And some would say, you're the most handsome guy. Of course, that make me feel good, or man, do you dress like this every day? And these are very important things for daughters to understand. The male's appearance, how a man carries himself, how he grooms himself, says a lot about who he is as a person.
Again, let me just remind everyone who is listening that this conversation stems from the book Dating Advice to My Daughter, and I don't really want you to think of this conversation as something that has to do with intimacy, even though it is part of our lives, but relationships. And that first has to begin between parents and children before it could be extended to your children who has now become grown and have the responsibility to build their own family structure. And that, of course, has been getting some issues these days. These are some of the problems that we are faced with and we are experiencing in our societies, that you cannot afford to leave, to run and go wild. Should be organized, should be structured and nurtured. Because
these are our next generations, right? You think of it, if you take it for granted, 20 years from now, the kids that are being born now are going to be adults, and they're going to be functioning in this society. They're going to be dating the next generation of daughters and building. So if we don't plant the right seeds, the crops that we're going to get are not going to be the crops we want.
How do you deal with conflict and conflict resolutions? You have that listed as one of the essentials. But how do you deal with that in the presence of abuse and control?
I say, when it comes to abuse, the abuser's strength is you keeping his abuse a secret. Because sometimes you're so far in. You have 2 kids, 5-6 years.
He pays the bills.
He pays all the bills. You don't have an income. It's control, right? If you don't share with your father, your brother, your uncle, especially the males in your family, because guys, like I said before, guys checks other guys. Most male, they're hiding from the other males. They're hiding from the males in your family because they know they will get checked once a male in your family finds out what's going on. By you bundling it all up because you're ashamed, because you were warned, listen, that guy is trouble. Do not be with that guy. But you proceeded anyway. I know you're ashamed. You think because you didn't listen in the beginning, you don't have the support. But you have to remember that's your circle. the more you keep his abuse a secret, is the more he's empowered to continue to abuse you. The moment you share it, there's hardly a dad who's going to know his daughter is being abused, or an uncle, or a brother, that he's not going to come and check that man that's committing the abuse. It's not the way men function. You're taking advantage of someone I love, someone I care about, my family. We check that very quickly, immediately, forcefully. And if you don't have a male, talk to your females. And as a last resort, call the police. Because the abuse from him could stem from various things: jealousy, anger, his past. He grew up in a household where the abuse was normal, so he normalizes it in his home. But that's not your fault. What happens to you? What happens to your loving, caring, emotional self that you need to now nourish this family that you guys created? You will now be doing exactly what was done to him and for him, which is continue that cycle within the next generation. You have to break it because you don't want it. It's hurtful, it's painful. You don't want to be in it. You can't keep it a secret.
But how much?
You have to share it.
How much can you do when you're knee deep, having 2 kids, plus the bills are taken care of? Isn't that a reason for the silence at times and not talking it over?
Some of it is, but it shouldn't be. Again, if you want the abuse to stop, you share. But once you share, there's a high chance he stops, he seeks help. Because men that are abusive, it's part mental, it's not just physical. Because some start off with a straight abuse, one slap, boom, and you're shocked. Then he brings flowers. 3 months later, 6 months later, another slap, or he's screaming. He does not stop on his own unless he gets checked, he gets helped. It's done in public, it's done in a certain environment. Someone walk up to him and said, "Why are you screaming like that? Why are you screaming at her? Why are you talk to her like that? This is the mother of your children." Right? Like, until he gets that, for him it's normal. It could be. It shouldn't be, but it could be.
You're talking about the character of an abuser.
Of an abuser, yeah. It goes, in most cases, deeper than the surface. Once you share with family, if you have that resource, again, father, brothers, uncles, mother, grandmother, if you can share, you can get help. If no one knows what's happening to you, no one can help you. Right? Once they know, you think you're 6 feet under. But the moment you share, you realize that there is people helping you with a hand. Like while you don't have an income, you don't have a job, you think all is lost. Someone says, "You know what? Bring the kids over. I'll help you. I'll take care of them. I have an extra room. You can sleep there." Help opens up because you share. No one knows you need help if you don't tell them you need help.
Any of this is in the essentials?
It is in the essential. I also have the hotline for St. Martin and Central Florida. So those are the 2 markets that I have access to the information. I can't put all the information for all the world, but as a last resort, you can always call 911, and police are going to show up. Most likely, a man is going to be with. There's very seldom 2 women police show up, right? And once you call and report domestic abuse to the police, they will show up. 9 out of 10 times. If the man is the abuser, they have him leave the home for 24 hours, 48 hours. They talk to him. It's a cool down period. You have the opportunity, if you can reach out for help through your family resources, that you can get out of that home. By the time he comes back, you're gone. The kids are gone. But if you don't ask for help, no one knows you need help. Maybe you come around, they see the sign, they see a black eye. Most women, they put makeup over it. Most women just stay at home, "Oh, I'm sick." And they hide. You're keeping the secret. You're keeping the abuser with his power.
But any of that could contribute to the post start that one might have had in the start of the relationship to begin with, not taking these advice that you were able to share with your daughters. You're at will to make any wild decision. It could be out of just fun and excitement.
Fun, infatuation. It was supposed to be just a weekend fling or a carnival fling, a Christmas fling, but then you got pregnant.
Yes.
And now you think, oh my God, now I have to be in a relationship with this person. Had you had the right information prior, there's a possibility you could have made different decisions. All right. At the end of the day, you're going to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it because of a lack of information, you have that excuse, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Right? But if your parents, if your circle, your father, your mom can tell you, listen, if you're going to have sex, you have to be responsible.
Yeah.
Right? You could then avoid a lot of the smaller steps that get you in that situation where you think now, or you in fact no longer can control.
How much of this lend itself to family values and by extension shape the character of these persons who have access to those type of advice at home versus those who don't have?
A lot. Where men are concerned, with a lot of guys, they throw out this high value and alpha male and all that kind of stuff. And I say, a real man, a value man, a man of value creates an environment for his family that is nurturing, caring, loving, where each person has a voice, where each person can express themselves, right? Where each person has room for growth, and it's available within the home that he has created. That's a high value man, right? And if you're just an alpha male, and I was explaining to someone, an alpha male takes leadership. He takes it. The high value man provides it.
The book is called Dating Advice to My Daughter. And folks, all the conversation that we've been having relates to much of the information that is in this book. And I can't stress how important it is for you to have a copy of this. And I'm giving you an idea as to one way you can provide a simple gift for a daughter, a grown-up, or for anyone who can have access to this information that will sure inspire them to be different. Gramey, what kind of result have you been getting? I have just 1 minute left. What kind of result have you been getting about the book so far? You're going to be leaving us,
yes,
Charlie, but the book is still around.
The book is going to be around.
Just quickly tell folks how they can get it.
The book is at Anya Bookstore in Cul-de-sac. It's in Adolphus, which is still on the Bush Road. It's at Van Dorp, both locations. It's at Video Block in French Quarter, and Family Bookstore on Camille Richardson Street. It's also available on Amazon. Oh, and it's also available at Pineapple Pete in Peach Shop in Colby. It's also available from Pineapple.
Just about everywhere.
Basically everywhere where you
reason why we can have a copy of this.
And it's a great Christmas gift. Your teenage daughters, it's written in simple Caribbean English, no big complicated words they have to research. And relationship essential, that chapter itself is really key, that speaks to our community and everything that's been that goes on around us.
Well, I want to thank you for appearing on People's Voice. It is not normal. We usually deal with hardcore information that it's like meet the press. But this is, I equate this with the problems we're having in our families and homes socially.
Yes.
With other problems that the world is having, which is very different, because we wouldn't want to be in that situation, because hardly anything they can do to help themselves, to make a change.
Right.
This is something that we can work on to make a change as part of our problems that we just need to address. Yes.
Choices and trade-offs.
Yes.
This is the key to relationship. And the key for human existence is communication.
Yeah.
right? You have to say what you want, say what your desire is, hear what the other person wants, what their desires are,
And make a sound decision.
and make a choice and whatever trade-offs you have to make, that you want to make to continue that relationship.
I want to thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And I was happy to at least host you for that last moment that you'll be with us. But I'm sure you'll be back, and
Yes.
there's more books to be written.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Gramey Browne, folks, he is giving timeless wisdom on navigating modern relationships, especially in this book called Dating Advice to My Daughter. It's everywhere. I recommend you get a copy for your teenage daughter and for parents who can make use of it. So that would be it for today, folks. We want to thank you again for tuning in and for watching. We'll be back again next time, so an invitation is extended for you to join us then. It's Sunday. Enjoy what's left of it. Goodbye.